Welcome back to Nightingale's Motorcycle Restorers and Vapour Blasting and Metal Finishers. We also do many other things with powder coat, with Cerakote, cannons polishing, soda blasting, walnut blasting, vapour blasting, engine building and bespoke trials bikes, twin shocks, as well as sell imported machines and mainly twin shock machines for sale, retail. So we're back on the TLR 200. Some of the modifications we're making. This video is really just to get us up to speed because we have been waiting for a few things to happen and it's all been taking time. So we'll go into the workshop in a minute, look at each station, what we're up to, and this might answer some of the questions, and hopefully you'll see the new products and what's happening. So we're in the workshops and we're at our TLR 200 heads, which we're building from brand new. We'll update you with these. We are actually nearly there now. We're now stocking spares such as the airlift cam, valves, and really anything to go with it, but we're nearly there. So the head we've chosen, what we've done is, as many of you know, the standard TLR 200 head, or many of them, running this alloy on a bearing, and after time they used to wear a bit of noise off the top end. Didn't really suffer for much, and a lot of them have had 40 years plus. A bad maintenance on them, that was a problem. But so anyway, we're out of that. So now we've got our eye lift cam on double bearings. The start of the ceramic specialist coating, I've done this on the lobes for friction wear, so even more, all for longevity this. So that fits neatly back in there, clicks in nice, lovely and smooth. When we've actually taken the valves out, we've Cerakoted them, specialist ceramic coating again, also to the edge of the valves, I'll show you in a minute, and some part of the stem. We've also, this time round, the rocker cover, as I've shown in another video, is done in a transfer grey, another heat dispersant specialist coating, all to get it away. So finally putting the springs back together, the double springs put together, and we've put either genuine under stem seals in it, valve stem seals, or Vitten seals only, and then finished off with one of our billeted rocker service covers on the top. The only reason we've put one on is this one's hidden away a bit, hard to get to anyway, and it just gives it a little bit of bling and a nice finish. All the stainless steel bolts come in the kit, just to put your manifold, carb manifold back on, including the stud bolts, which these are on 8mm, which we put our own flange to it. When we put the flange to it, it's in stainless as well. This will fit straight on your TLR, up the pipe, onto the machine. The reason we've made this, it was after a conversation last week with an engineer. We're keeping a good solid stud on the head, exit of the exhaust, and also this will also fit onto our special exhaust, which are in the process of being made at the moment with the few mods we've done to that. So on the edge itself, we're also fitting one of these Perspex clear glass covers. You can see your timing cover go around. If you don't want to use it, that's up to you. You can put your original cover on. The only thing you need in the kit is your original timing sprocket, which bolts straight onto your cam. And in the instructions, we've just got a slightly different valve gap, that's all, than on your standard 200, because also the valves are larger, especially on your carb input side, your air input side, and even on your exhaust side. But the bigger valves, polished head internally, and then we've actually gas flowed these as well. So right the way through, we've gas flowed these out. They look really nice. These are brand new heads, by the way. There's many heads on the market, but we've gone for this type. We've run them for many years. Plus, we do put an identification behind this, so we can keep a paper trail when you purchased it. It was checked. We do about a 20-point checklist now. and we're even putting in the rocker box cover on top, some sealant round and torquing it up. So really, you're just able to put your new head on, time it up, and a bit of valve gap in, and you're away. And the performance difference is unbelievable. It really is. And that's where we're at with the cylinder heads. So we're ready to go. We're just a couple of weeks maybe, just to make sure we've got every part stocked as well. Not that you'll need it, but the eye lift cam in the double bearing, it runs so smooth, and we think they're fantastic. And we'll move on to the next item. So we know the cylinder heads are nearly there, ready for you just to bolt on, and they'll be coming down our velocity range. The next thing we're doing is our own CDI boxes. So they are for 200 TLRs, but many people will know that the format is the same for the 250 on certain machines, and a few wiring adjustments are just lengthened, which could be possibly done later on if someone wanted one for a different machine. But the basics on all CDI boxes are the same. What we're up against is here. We've taken the CDI diagram and we've had a look what's in most of these boxes, which a lot are the same, not much difference in any of them. A little bit technical. This is one off a TRS, which has just come in. It's failed apparently. So you can, I mean, they're expensive items. Someone said they're 160, 170 quid these. I'm not talking about any other modern motorcycle, we're concentrating on TLR 200s, but we can come back on this. Because the first thing to do if you have got one of these, especially with all these multi-pins, very fine pins on, there may be something you can do at home without having the knowledge in electronics or an oscilloscope with your neighbour 8 or digital machine to test anything. If you dissolve the resin with acetone, even same things you'd take a nail varnish remover off at home, that'll wipe the full bottle out of your wife's or girlfriend's. But if you just soak it, the lot in it for 2 or 3 hours, then slowly pick it away. I put this in some acetone about half an hour ago, and already it's disintegrating. So you don't have to start cutting the box up. You just need to know how to get in it, and just take your time. You'll find an air gap in it. Once that comes out, the unit will actually slide out. A lot of the times on this particular type, I'm not just saying on that motorcycle, I'm saying on many of these CDI boxes, the pins corrode on the inside. And to the ordinary eye, you can just take it out and see actually the fault. And if anyone's handy with a soldering iron, you could give you a good backup that, and then just coat it with some silicone resin. You don't have to have the specialist stuff, which we'll use. So it's just an idea, but I am going to pull this apart and have a look. Well, there'll be a few gadgets, just because of the shape of the box. It could be to fit in a frame or fit down the side or be mounted on an engine casing. So there's probably 50% less than that in electronics in there. They don't comprise of that much, no matter what machine it is. I wouldn't envy any modern motorcycle mechanic now in dealerships or the dealers working with modern bikes, apart from having to take on road bikes all the fairings off and plastics, which no one ever teaches you that kind of stuff. But when it comes to back boxes, we're all the same now. It's kind of a throwaway item, and your mechanic's there with his job card and he just plugs another one in and that's it, and away you go. It's different at home, because when you're having to buy things in and it's 150, 160 quid and you don't know if it's a coil after this, it's a bit of a gutter. But I will do a video on that when I pull that apart. But back to the standard boxes which we'll be building. Now, you can, all these small boxes, you've got to look at it and say, right, power charger, power band, power this, free revving. Well, let's just go back to pretty basics. You can have a machine, or I could build a machine to test these, right? And it really, all it is it's a pulse magneto, a signal generator, which it comes with several different connectors to plug in. You turn it on and it acts as not only a CDI checking machine to check in the spark, it's got like 2 spark arresters. It fires a spark across with a pulse. Not very technical at all really, but a big box with not a lot in it inside with electronics. Or you've got the other test where you can put an ignition coil in it, put your HT into it and try it, and it also tells you if your coil's working. As I say, I think it's a throwaway item now. You either bring a bike in for service and someone goes, you need a new one, mate. It's not old school again. So back to these boxes. So you'll end up with the standard box. And let's go through while some of these kind of give you the failure. If it's 40-year-old, 50-year-old, there's a good chance that it may either have no spark or poor starting maybe. It could even have a little bit of intermittent coughing, like a spark plug fouling up. And what happens with these CDI units is that basically you get a pulse voltage from your stator which comes up usually on the blue and yellow lead on these TLRs, and it fires a pulse and it comes in through a series of diodes, resistors, and it goes into a big capacitor which lays 90% of the box, and then it fires that, charges it up, throws it to a thyristor and puts the power, quite an high voltage actually, straight across to the coil, then giving you your spark. It's not rocket science. And they all differ in certain ways. They either have more resistors and more diodes, but the CDI box, it could be called the thyristor box, ignition box. So we'll be putting them out in the black casings with the loom ready to plug in, and we'll test them. Now when it comes back to testing them, you know, if you don't have one of these machines, which are pretty basic, but for anyone at home, but when would you want to use one again for the price of these? They're quite a simple way, but there's a couple of other ways you can do it. We're in a process of having to build just a motorcycle, a TLR 200, just because we've got so many things going on. These cylinder heads are proven now, ignitions, a new exhaust system I've got nearly completely different, redesigned. The front pipes, obviously the swinging arms are coming longer with the alloy ones. So we're going to build a bike on a dummy test bed. So when one of these black boxes goes out, we can test it, put the date on it, and we're going to be giving a 3-month guarantee with it. As long as you basically wire everything up, all the feeds, everything you've got, you'll have a time trigger, your earthings, your pickup, and a return. Apart from that, if you wire it up properly, it's a black box at the end of the day. Clean spark. And going back to the old problems where I say you may have a problem, is over time that capacitor kind of leaks itself away and doesn't throw that sudden surge of power. I'm trying to keep it as low as I can, but that's basically what it is. It comes in off a voltage, fires into a series, into a thyristor, into a capacitor, and bam, gives you that spark. And if it's free revving performance, well, it's got no restrictor in it. We're not going to have any little maps of oscilloscopes, which I could do, and put your little thing, because one, you wouldn't be interested, and two, it's not necessary. It does the job, and we'll be firing one up and running one on our bikes very shortly. So what we're going to do after that, we're just going to look at anything else on electronic boxes, just some of the faults. I've noticed a lot of these when you get into the boxes and have a look. There's two things. One, the solder quality isn't such good quality. So intermittent faults are usually with, it's like the days in the TV trade when the TV got warm and you had an internet, you had to bang it on the side. The boards expand, and then when it cools down it straightens up again. Well, these boards in here, little circuit boards, the soldering actually that good. So obviously we're not using that. The next thing is that when they put these little boxes together, and a few of you are taking these to bits, you can either have sand, just like a dry salty sand inside for packing, or even fish tank gravel. I know it sounds crazy, but when you're mass producing anything, and especially the Chinese versions, the pack it just to save on the resin, because it's a costing, and the resin's the last thing. Now the sad thing is about it, when you take these circuits down, or you look at a circuit drawing of these, they're actually very clever. Some of these mopeds, 250s, the CDI box, they've got some really good ideas inside it. They haven't skimped on the technology. What they've skimped on is by probably using an hard resin to fill them with, more you're using an hobbyist kit, and they've got air pockets in it which can cause condensation, and it does cause a problem, air bubbles, because it gets in and then it gets to a pin, especially like these, you know, these pins on the inside. I've seen these nearly eroded away. So what you actually use instead, when you repack these, and we'll be packing our own, is you use what you call a potting compound. And the potting compound actually goes in, it's not only, it's almost bubble free, but it's also got an anti-shock value in it. And if you do the full box in it, you're encapsulating the full circuit board in it. So you haven't put a packer in. I know it's boring, but it's sad really, because a lot of these CDIs, what are failing, it's just because the last little bit probably are costing. It's not actually the failure of the electronic part of it, apart from dry joints, soldered joints, which is mass produced. So we'll move on to our next thing. We are at the moment definitely 2 weeks from this video on these, and we're about ready to go on these now, so that's another good thing. They'll be running slightly cheaper for the first couple of months, just so we can get them advertised. And now it seems like we've got a lot of people in France kind of interested in this kind of electronic side, but there's nothing really to talk about. It's a free revving, it's packed in genuine resin gel, a bit of anti-shock, and going back to like some of these where these are wedged now, they're getting some real action on them. So we'll move on to the next project. So we know the heads are nearly finished now. The CDI boxes are coming along. We'll just go over a few things which we've been doing and where we're at. The specialist coating, which I showed in the last video, it's the transfer grey heat dispersant to get it away from the crankcases. Again, would you have it done? Possibly not on the TLR 200. It does look fantastic. I mean, the colour we've used will go on anyway, it's beautiful. So if you're going to have it ceramic coated as a professional finish, because it's not only petrol resistant, brake fluid resistant, it's such a clean factory finish where we spray shop here, again specialist coating, but this one's an heat transfer to get it away. On the heads we used obviously 2 other types of coating, friction and heat dispersant on the valves. We've got the barrel back for this special build. We sent it away, it was on standard bore. We've had it taken to first oversize, made a cracking job, and then we're going to try out these, carry on with these pistons we've been using. They come with a good background. The straight flat piston, they're not high compression, and that's what we're using at this particular time. We're happy with it, with this machine. Other people use other pistons, other things, but just what we do, we're totally happy with it. So the cranks come back, that's fantastic, that's all been done. We've got some bearings on it now, and we're also just looking at the hubs, which will be on the special machine. We've got these in now though, they are RTL hubs. We get rid of the standard hubs on the TLR 200 and we're replacing them with these eventually. They'll need stripping down, they are second hand obviously, but we'll be stripping them down, ready for new bearings. And then the colour. Now as I said, we're looking at a Repsol kind of theme on this bike. Yeah, I just don't want to go overboard with the oranges and to the black. So I think what we're going to do is this transfer grey, I think we're going to stick the hubs in the specialist ceramic coating, because again it's heat dispersant and these are shoes, so they'll be getting a bit of warmth around them still. So I think we're going to follow that up, so that probably one of the next 2 videos you'll see this transfer grey put onto these. And then the only modification on this front end, it'll be having a different billet plate, brake plate, and they're about 350 quid. Quite expensive actually. I mean, it's all expensive because time you get your hubs and then onto your new serrated tubeless rim and a few other things. Obviously these are on 15mm, so the two sets of swinging arms, or two swinging arms we'll be doing on the specialist billet. One will be for the larger hubs and one will be for your standard TLR. So as soon as the swinging arm comes in, we'll be showing you what you can get. Obviously it's an extended swinging arm because we've altered the trail of the steering head angle and done the usual mods with the footrest. So we'll go back onto our next project, which is the front pipes. The front pipes we're getting made because at the moment we're having our back boxes made and they're going to be a lot shorter and stubbier, and you'll see many different versions of this. We've just altered it slightly. We'll be making this in stainless steel and we will be putting the power bomb inside it. Not only does it look cosmetically pleasing, but we have tried a couple and we feel the longer ones do make a difference, especially at low end. There's modifications to that exhaust which you'll see when I get the exhaust in. So you can either buy a front pipe or a back box offers as a complete exhaust. As I say, the clamps we've got, what will go with it, will fit straight onto your cylinder, standard cylinder, or we'll go on to our specials. So next thing, manifolds. So this is a standard TLR 200 manifold, and as we always preach when we sell the heads, always make sure your O-ring is replaced because it can throw you off with all kinds of carb faults or thinking it's electrical and really it's just the air gap. So because they do pancake out these seals pretty quick, as many as you know will know. So another quick way to test it is when you tighten it up, you just get water in a spray bottle. You'll have heard it a million times, but it just sees if you've got any foaming around it. It is imperative on these bikes to have this tight. So the next thing, manifold and then the deflector shield. Now in the last video I showed that these have been sold now, and you'd think people had discovered the wheel, and as I said in the last video, when I was 19 in a bike shop, these were sent out in a jiffy bag. And I'll go over it once again. Basically you've got your carburettor and your manifold, your cylinder head, and it's even more now because people are using where the TLRs used to be just quite a lame, restricted trail bike. Now people are making into very good competition machines, so you're upping a little bit probably with the valves and everything, and you're studying a section. It is air cooled, obviously not water cooled, and the main problem is these used to come out as a stock on default, and obviously it's in between the carburettor and the manifold into the cylinder head from the carb, and all it does basically, it puts an heat deflector shield from the head to the float ball. The reason is the float boat's got warmer. Even on a sunny day riding on a road, you come to traffic lights, pop. They used to call it the on the cough. Or you'd have it in the workshops for half an hour ticking over and it'd just go pop for no reason. And it was really just boiling the fluid in the petrol in the float ball. So they are good. This has come through the post today. It was advertised as Bakelite, because everything used to be Bakelite, like the old plugs and 3-pin plug in the early days. And Bakelite basically went out in 1940, war times. It was Art Deco, a lot of the clocks were made in it and lampshades and all that kind of thing. Bakelite's only a brand name. It's a covering range for many resins, and after the war and that type, the resins superseded, like phenol resins and the rest of it. So this is actually a 3D printed one. Not saying it won't work, but it'll go in the space. The way I was checking it, we're having some made at the moment, or very close. Again, we're a couple of weeks, which is a professional piece of laminated product, which will be taken out, but the only thing I'm doing with it is I'm putting a gap in here for an O-ring. I'll get this drawn up so it actually seals fantastic on here. So it'll come off your main part of your engine, onto your flange, onto your spacer, and then all go up nice and tight. And they'll fit straight on your bike. I'd recommend them anyway. Even these are okay, but if you really get into this and you're putting your heat lamp on it and starting to do different temperatures in the bowl, the real McCoy, and I don't know how much it's going to be yet difference, but it'll work better than that. But there's nothing wrong with that. It'll only get more brittler. That's the thing. Bakelite was brittle. That was one of the reasons they packed in with it, and it used to leave a lot of tainting in the early days, the brown tainting. So we'll move on to that. They'll be happening, so they're a good idea. Even if you buy them off somebody, they're fine. The front pipes have been done, and I'll just gen you up a bit on the airboxes now. So, as I said in the last video, you're going to be. This is going to be a bit of a joke in future, because when people went from buying bigger heads for the motorcycles, and then you stick on a Okie Dokie or another carburettor of 2-stroke format, even ones with power valves on, and I just have to go over this. When it says it's for an 80cc 125, 250 up to a 350, there can be if it's the bore size. It's the jetting you're playing with, but it's still on the two-stroke side of carburation. So then they buy one of these, and you usually find, and it's not telling anyone to suck eggs or anything, but what happens is if they've got a TLR and it's 40-year-old with high mileage and not been serviced in its life much, if you take that original 22 carb off, and you get hold of it, let's just find it again, there it is, and you get hold of it and have a look at it, and you probably give it a good clean, ultrasonic clean, or in carburettor cleaner overnight, and put some genuine Honda jets in it, not Kenshin or anything like that, genuine Honda kit. You'll probably find you've got a fantastic carburettor, what doesn't suffer from much. Get your heat shield on it, and it does what it says on the tin. It's a 4-stroke carburettor, and the lecturing on 2-stroke to 4-stroke carburettors, we know that. We don't need any advice on that. Remember, if you take your carburettor off it and get a tin of Air's air freshener, I can start your bike like that with a tin of Air's air freshener. So, but this is the good old 4-stroke carburettor. So the guys have bought the heads. They've got a different, they realise the manifolds don't fit to the air filter box, so they've got a diversion on it. They've gone to one of these Chinese carburettors, and then they struggle getting it into an air filter box, so they have to have more adaptions or come up with again back to one of these, and because everybody goes on about the air input of these things, and they have these big insides coming in and all kinds of things. They strap 3 on together and they don't know what day it is. What I'd say with these is, most of these, this is for a TY 175. Again, someone will say on the blogs or whatever, they're restricted on airflow, which they were, the front pipe, the air input, everything was. But this really, there's nothing technical about this box. The only thing technical someone's tried to do is nearly try to match it up to something up here to fit in the frame, but actually been tested with airflow doing anything, no, there's not much been going on there. Plus you get one of these like your modern bike, it looks like Baldric add-on there. They do them in bigger sizes as well, by the way, but yeah, so you stick one of these in and you stick your 2-stroke carburettor on, you kick it off a few times and flood it and nearly blow your garage up. This bursts into flames, all kinds of weird things happen with them, but they're running them. We're not bothered about anybody else. It's just we've had 5 years of, I'd say, pain on these bikes with every single type of piston, cams, heads, and if it was the man at home, he'd have thrown it away a lot of years ago. So if it works for you, fantastic, but for us, we don't like it. So what we're doing is we're going back to, as I said in a video, back to the 4-stroke carb. Also it fits the 250 as standard. Some range you see they're jetting from quite high, 105 on main, and probably I think it's 40 here and run. Usually when they're coming, I think they're at 92 and 38, which seems to be comfy somewhere around there. They don't seem to suffer from anything. Back to the carburetors, the Chinese or Taiwanese ones, you've always got to look for this bracket as well on here, because it just gives you a tail that it is on the 4-stroke side. And they don't work too bad actually. I'm not actually buying them. I've got somebody, not from round here, they're actually reproducing this carburetor, and they reckon they've got it to a point in mass production, but a lot more money. I may be wrong, may get it back in, and it might be one which you see on the sites like this, but I've had these carbs in about 60, 70, 80 quid on the 4-stroke version, and I think they've got them sorted, I really do. And it works on the bike perfect. The next thing is, go back over this again. These air filter boxes went in the dustbin. And I thought this 5 years ago. It's quite an intelligent air filter box. When you look at something like that, I followed a guy in a blog in the States, and when you get deep into this, when you see the fretwork in it and how it was tested, and also it disperses any moisture to one side. They even had a point where they reckoned when they were high up in altitude and there was humidity problems, you see them all at the time jetting and doing all kinds of things because they're getting bike starve restriction, like you've got the fuel cap's been blocked, you know, it's puppering back on you. And this box, it's quite well of its time actually, well advanced. So what we decided to do, I decided to kind of take it to bits and bring it up to what I think would be better, with a little bit more airflow, some way of just getting any moisture out of one side. As I say, the moisture when it comes in, it's got protectors on it to stop water, if you're in deep water, or if it's been jetted or it gets under the back of the mudguard. The moisture then running flutes to one side and down the bottom, so it kept it from any moisture going straight into your air input side of it. So the plan is, I'm still going for, obviously these have to be, I mean the time at the moment has just been trying to streamline it to make it easy to be made for myself. But what I'm going to do is the standard filter in it was fantastic. It was only ever restricted really because of this firewall, this blanket on here, which you can still take this off. You can take the outer one off this, just a bit of restriction, and fit the foam filter back on. What I'm doing, I've got somebody with the spec on airflow, and we're actually putting it'll be a K&N filter designed for it with the same circlip on it, but it'll be a quality filter. There's no point buying a £3 filter or something Chinese of a copy of something else. You might as well go for it in a quality box. But I think they look, when they're in, they not only look cosmetically pleasing, but they will work definitely, because we've tried and tested it again. If you look on one of the videos on YouTube, there's a gent who tests modern bikes every week, and it comes under some stick really, but he did the testing on 3 TLR 200s, and everything he said was right really. When you can still manage to talk while you're videoing yourself riding one of these early machines, that's a bonus, that's a sign of improvements. But if you watch his video closely, and though he refers to certain comments he gets on his YouTube video or videos, and he tends to call people sausages, I think now is the younger term for people. It's a mild way of saying that. But anyway, the thing is, you watch his videos, if you watch each bike, like you take one out of here, out of the showroom, you get a standard bike, you put some good heavy shocks on it. If you're a bit of a fat boy, a bit heavier shocks. Can't say that. No? Alright, sorry, I'm not allowed to say that. So you put some better quality shock absorbers if you're a larger person who eats a lot of pies. And really just a little bit of alteration to the forks, bit of gearing, and you're on your way to having a good fun trials bike. Then you see him on the next video and he's done a few more modifications. You've either started to come in removing the footrest back. It may not have the headstock turned at this turn to what angle. Some fat bars maybe on some different billets, yokes, triple clamps, and he rides that one. And it's a really good video because he's actually telling it from, you know, a rider who is an excellent rider and road test modern bikes. And if you look at the last video, he's got a machine there which he said have nothing else, because you know, all the bikes what were made on that video, they're all excellent and built by professionals, and you can see what goes into these machines. But we're building this latter one, we're building the same, plus we're putting a few more of our bits on it. But if you just take a close to that video and you zoom in, because you know, it's all right being a bike builder, or you're looking at people in trials bike, you're looking how the weight goes down and when it hits rocks and how it's steering or tucking. you look at it close when he's at the last bit, when he starts saying like, we have Cerakote, billeted, frame angles, all the colours, all the posh stuff on it, maybe even a different gearbox, first to second modification. Look very close, look where the exhaust is. Look where what air filter box it's probably sitting in it, and then finally take a close glance at the carburettor, the bottom of it, on the ring. And what you'll find is, and this is what I said from the beginning, it's all gone round in a big circle as this, and you'll find your men who are at the top of building these things, who not only can ride them, I mean, I can't ride them, but I have people in here who can. As I say, it's just an hobby for me. I like fettling them more than riding. You watch what they've done. They've made some fantastic modifications, and I think the thing to do is just do one thing at a time, you know, and then test it. Like setting an air screw up on a carburettor or a fuel mixture screw. You know, one little tweak. Run it for half an hour, take the plug out, have a look. It's no different with all these bikes. So the latter thing is the air filter boxes. Now we are going to be a bit away on these because there's a lot more going into it. The triple clamps with our own branding on it, they've been made now. The thing is, they're a nice billet. You can either have them polished, polish them here on Cannon's polishing, highly polished, and they'll also take standard bars or fat bars. Can I say fat bars? Yeah, I can say fat bars because they are fat bars. Can get away with that one, I think, or fatter than slimmer ones. Anyway, so we'll have them as well, and then these boxes will be coming in. I think will be 2 months. What we've got to do is, though, if you see these at any auto jumbles or anything, you need to buy them. I'm telling you, because you'll have had one, you'll have thrown it out, you'll have give it away, and they're going to go for ridiculous money. And if you get an old one like this one is, there's a couple of modifications you can do. Just be careful before you do it, because if you're going to eventually buy one of mine, then I wouldn't advise you to do this. If you take the firewall blanket off the side and don't make any drastic modifications to the top of these boxes for more air input in at this stage, I'd just go for the firewall first and take that off, because if you there's different configuration. I think by sticking 2 16mm holes down it and opening it up, or cutting a piece out, making your old, you know, cod piece to go in, it's too much. Don't do it. Been proven. So keep that, because it'll be worth more than anything shortly. You'll see. I don't think you'd see any now on the internet. If you do buy them all, then sell them to me for double anyway. I'll buy them all off you. But I'll have my own boxes, which will fit your standard carb, your standard 4-stroke carburettor onto your manifold, with your heat shield, with your cylinder header man, possibly with my CDI unit to keep you going, the front pipe and the back box. But they're all add-ons, they'll fit straight on. So hopefully that's answered a few questions and briefed you up on what we're doing, and we'll see you in the next one.